This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Step up your sweat with the Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. Swivel your screen 360 degrees and follow your favorite instructors on and off your tread. Track your form and reps with the movement tracking camera. Feel supported as you train on the cushioned slap belt and move to the beat with Sound by Sonos. Elevate your workouts with the Cross Training Tread Plus.
When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
It matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Rev, let me say to all of our listeners around the country who are planning vacation this time of year, look at the Jewish calendar. Consult with that Jewish calendar so you know when the good weather is. And as we approach Passover, you know, that's a natural. Anyway, we have today, talking about Passover. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to respond to that because, you know, I use the Farmer's Almanac. You're telling me that there's something better. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we are going to talk about Passover today, but one of my favorite people who come on the air with us every so often is Rabbi David Seth Kirshner, the spiritual leader of Temple Emmanuel of Closter, New Jersey, past president of the New York Board of Rabbis, author of a book entitled Streams of Shattered Consciousness. Rabbi Kirshner, thanks so much for coming on the air with us.
Oh, it's such an honor to be back on the air with you, Reverend, and you, Rabbi. I hope you both are well.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak for the Reverend.
I'm doing my best with the Rabbi.
Anyway, so David, help us out with this. Here we have Passover approaching, and we wish each other Chag Sameach, a happy holiday. At the same time, we sit at the Seder table with family and friends, and we state in every generation there are those who seek to destroy us. I think given what's going on now, that takes on even more meaning, and more of a sense of reality. How do we approach the holiday with this contradiction, or is that just something that is endemic to our history, that we're bitter and sweet?
I think endemic to the holiday itself, Passover has an identity crisis. It doesn't know whether it's a holiday of celebration or a holiday of reflection. The celebratory part is that we sit down, we have a feast, we lean, and we have 4 glasses of wine. The reflective part is we remember what slavery was like. We eat a poor person's bread, which was the bread of affliction. We eat bitter herbs. So we've always struggled with that juxtaposition of what is this holiday and what's it about. And I think this moment gives us the same idea. Is this a moment of oppression for us, which clearly it is. We don't have to look far to see what happened just a short while ago in Detroit and in other places around the world and in Toronto. Or is it a moment of liberation where we as Jews are going to become stronger, more fortified, more responsive to this test that we're going through?
Is it also the holiday a messianic hope built into it? I think of the Seder. I think of, you know, those things that are practice. There is a hope built into it also, not just a reflection on suffering, right? Talk about that hope.
You know, Reverend, at the very end of the Seder, it's customary to sing this 3-word song called L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. The joke goes, next year in Jerusalem, and the year after that, a nice cruise. The idea behind that is that next year we'll be in Jerusalem. I remember when I was finishing my senior year of high school, and I was going to a gap year in Israel, like my son is currently on right now. He's currently in Israel. And it was the Seder, and we sang that line, L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, and my grandmother started to well up with tears. She never told me, but I knew exactly why she was crying, because for her whole childhood and most of her life, the idea of that line was nothing more than messianic. But something happened in her lifetime where the idea of going to Jerusalem became a reality, so much so that her grandchildren were now going to spend years in Israel. And that hopeful prayer that was very far-fetched in reach was now a reality. So I think that much of Judaism is about this notion of hope, but I also think it's about realizing dreams that have come to fruition and appreciating them and then setting new goals that will happen. And I'm hopeful that when we make prayers for peace, that we're going to be able to look back based on so many of the actions that are happening now and happen over these past years, realize the pain, the suffering, the tragedy that our people have gone through, but hopefully realizing that those are sacrifices for a peace that we dreamt about and that we are partaking in.
You know, my parents who came to this country after the war, Holocaust survivors, I remember sitting at the Seder table and they would recite the verse, next year in Jerusalem, but this year, thankfully, we're in America, and we enjoy the blessings of this country. One of the important aspects, David, as you well know, is the engagement of young people. We sit there, we want young people to participate in a meaningful way. We want them to ask us questions, and I think part of the message is we may not have all the answers you want, but we encourage you to have that inquisitive spirit. Ask us the questions. And it also says to us, try to be prepared with some good answers when they're asking you the questions. What do you say?
You know, I don't think I need to have answers. I think I need to celebrate their questions and pose some more. I think young people aren't looking for answers as much as they're looking to be heard. The Seder starts off with the notion of 4 children, and they each come with a particular question. And no matter what that question is, no matter where they are on the spectrum, no matter what angle they're coming to us from, whether it's from wisdom or whether it's from rebellion or whether it's from simplicity, we always make place for that person at the Seder. And I think when people are coming to us with questions at the Seder, we have a responsibility to celebrate those questions, to stoke their curiosity, to remind them that Judaism is a religion of questions. And that's who we are and what we're about. I think when we come with absolute answers, it doesn't necessarily work in the paradigm of life that they're living, number one. And number two is, I really want to demonstrate a world where there can be more than one answer. I think one of the challenges we have in our society today is that people think for me to be right, you have to be wrong. And I want to encourage people to have nuance. I want to encourage people to hold 2 truths at the same time. And I want to encourage them to be empathetic and to be proud that it's all possible. And I want to celebrate those questions and curiosity.
Yeah, I like the whole idea of questions. We're coming to the end of this segment, and I hope we can continue it because I would love to hear what you have to say about part of the Seder where there's the afikomen, which is hidden, and the children search for it. And what does that mean as part of this particular practice? I would love for you to unpack that.
Yeah.
Because you talk about hidden and mystery apart from certainty, but this awakens curiosity in some way, yes?
Yeah. When we come back, you'll answer that question. Of course, Rev, I know David, he always tries to make it more challenging. He hides the afikomen on the George Washington Bridge, and it becomes a very, very difficult task for young people to find it.
I didn't know you had to leave the house to find it, but I'll leave that there. Okay?
All right.
We'll be back with more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with 0 effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Spring is here and the shopping list is long. Time to make a Lowe's run. Buy 3 bags, get 3 free of Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil. Plus, right now members can earn 4 times the points on an eligible purchase. Start spring off strong with these deals and more. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/25 while supplies last. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change. Point boosters subject to exclusions and more terms apply. One time only offer.
This episode is brought to you by Welch's Fruit Snacks. Big news for your kids' lunchbox. Welch's Fruit Snacks are now made without any artificial dyes. A snack parents can feel good about and the same delicious taste kids can't get enough of. All made with no artificial dyes. Try Welch's Fruit Snacks today.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
And joining us is Rabbi David Seth Kirshner, who is the great spiritual leader of Temple Emmanuel in Closter, New Jersey, and also has held the position of president of the New York Board of Rabbis. And I recommend his book, Streams of Shattered Consciousness. We were talking about
we're going to talk about his book because I've got a load of questions. But the Afikomen, I mean, especially engaging children in the Seder. But what does it mean? What's the meaning behind it? You're hiding something and they have to find it.
You know, Reverend Bernard, originally the idea of hiding the Afikomen was just to capture the kids' attention, to make them search for it, make sure they stay awake and alert. I really never spent much time thinking about that idea of making them look for something on the spiritual side. You really have stoked a thought for me, which you always do whenever I talk with you. So thank you. I think there's a lot that we as the Jewish people, young people and not so young people, are learning and exploring and finding out about ourselves and uncovering. I think there's a lot for us to unpack. In fact, I would argue when we had Seder in 2023, we had no idea how much our Jewish lives and identity would change 3 short years later. So there's a lot to unpack and a lot we're looking for and a lot we're trying to understand. And I really like that read. I'm going to incorporate it in my Seder this year about the Afikomen.
You know, the other part of it is that, as we said earlier, there are things we don't understand but seek to understand. But the fact that we don't understand them doesn't deter us from still looking. As you know, David, and I once told this to the Rev, one of the great compliments you can confer upon an individual is to call a person a Talmid Chacham, a learned student, which we loosely translate as a scholar. But you're a learned student. You're always studying. You're always trying to, enhance your intellectual foundation. So Afikomen means keep searching. Don't stop. And that's why we make it sometimes a little more difficult each year. We don't put it in the same place. So they say, we know where to find it. There is that challenge.
If I may contribute, because it's a broken matzah, which, of course, is the bread of affliction and completeness. But hiding it, I would think that, it means that what is broken is not discarded. It's preserved in some way, and we've got to find those broken pieces and bring them back together. You're pulling out the Jewishness in me here, Rabbi, and
finally,
David Seth Kirshner.
It's taken me all these years. Finally, do you attend a Seder? Rev, do you attend a Seder? Do you have a Seder?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the Cultural Center, and you've been to Seders?
Yeah. We actually held a complete Seder on the stage one Good Friday to introduce our congregation to its meaning. Of course, we have a Christian perspective at the end. This is why.
You know what I welcome at the Seder? Nobody uses the cell phone. You're sitting there, you're listening, no cell phones. I've yet to be at a Seder where there's a cell phone. Because you engage one another. You look at the person. You ask questions of the person. And David, I want to ask you, you have the Haggadah, the narrative, but there are things that you must add to it to make it even more interesting. You don't just want a perfunctory reading of the book. Are there things that you do that enhance it in some way?
Well, there are two things I want to share with you. One is, Reverend, when you were talking about the brokenness of the matzah and the brokenness in life, don't forget that when Moses came down the mountain and the tablets were broken after he saw the golden calf, God commanded us to take those broken tablets and put it in the ark with the full tablets that were in.
Right.
And I think that's a reminder to us that all of us have broken parts of us. First thing we do at the Seder is we break that matzah to show our brokenness. I think there's a lot of meat on that bone for conversation. One of the things I do, Joe, that I did since my kids were little, is I'm very particular about this phrase that we say early on in the Haggadah, Kol dichvi niete v'yechol. Anyone who's hungry, let them come and eat. It's an empty sentence. You're sitting around the Seder table with all the people who are dining with you. They know that there's a meal coming because they can smell it, and that's why you invited them there. But the whole notion is anyone who's hungry, let them come and eat, really should be shared outside. So when my kids were little, we used to open up the door, and we used to say, anyone who's hungry, come to our house to eat, and then they would read off the menu of what we were having. We have brisket, and we have...
But, I used to tell my son that it seems a little bit awkward that you're inviting people after you already have prepared the Seder and the guest list. But maybe there is a message there that it's never too late to invite someone to the Seder, that maybe there's someone who's alone that you forgot about, someone who doesn't have a community, someone who doesn't have a family, and try to get that person to, even at the last minute, even if the person comes late for the Seder, there's room at the table.
I think that's important, and I also think it's important to be proactive. Not let people come to you, but you go to them. Do you have a place to eat? Do you have a place to celebrate the Seder? Let us be with you. One of the things that we are very proud to do is to support the amazing work of the Board of Rabbis for its Mount Chitim Fund for people who can't afford for the Passover Seder. And our attitude is anyone in our community and anyone in our global community who doesn't have the resources for matzah, for wine, for fish, for chicken, we want to provide that for them. That's critical. How dare they not have that for Passover? And that you can't be a free people and eat a meal while you know others will be hungry. That defies the whole notion of the feast of Passover. It defies the whole notion of freedom. So I think part of our freedom is ensuring that others are celebrating it with you, or else we're really missing the plot of the story.
I'm always taken with the fact that Christians participate in our Passover campaign. There are many who say, I'm not Jewish, but I want to help those who are in need. And, we often tell stories about how during certain periods there was an exchange. A Jew would fill in for a Christian during Christmas, and a Christian would fill in for a Jew during Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Passover, whatever the holiday was. We were able to be there for one another, and I see this as an extension of that we don't put a label. Well, it's a Jewish person, therefore it doesn't involve us. We are beyond that. And it's very, very heartening to see.
Rabbi, I want to make sure that we don't run out of time because I really want to talk about his book, Streams of Shattered Consciousness. And I said it's slow because it's a day-by-day chronicle of the first 50 days that followed October 7th, 2023, the Hamas attack on Israel. Why did you write it, and the way you wrote it as a series of daily reflections?
I wish I could give you a really cogent answer. It really was inertia that caused me to write it. I remember living in New York City on September 11th. I remember the amazing role that our shared friend, Rabbi Potasnik, served in his capacity as one of the chaplains of the FDNY during that time. I remember what it was to be a New Yorker then. But as time passed, you can sometimes forget emotion. You can remember an event, but emotion is hard to recall. But keeping this journal of these emotions of how we felt, the frustration, the sadness, the worry, the concern, the confusion, the upset, and having it canonized and having it put front and center so that you can stoke those memories and those emotions, I think has been an important time capsule of this book and things that we could look back to. I don't say this with any bravado. I wish I were more wrong, but many of the things that I had predicted in that book of Lebanon's role, Iran's role, how to deal with Iran, other pieces sadly, too many of them came to fruition. It wasn't a hard prediction to make. We know what our enemies have been seeking to do against us since time immemorial.
You know, it's interesting, Reverend David, we talk about when the Jews crossed the sea, there was a wall right on the right and a wall on the left. And the word for wall is choma, but if you take away the vowel, you can pronounce it chema, which means anger or hatred. There was hatred on the right and hatred on the left, right? And look at today. Those words, right, seem to have reoccurred in terms of how the Jew is depicted in different camps on opposite sides, but they both unite in hating the Jew.
You know, Joe, I'll tell you, I'm from Detroit. The attack that happened at Temple Israel a little over a week ago, that attack happened less than a mile from the home I grew up in and was raised in. And before we knew anything about the assailant, I wrote this to my congregation. I remember saying it to my wife, Dory. This could easily have been a white supremacist, and I can imagine that this could be someone who is anti-Israel. It could have gone in either direction. And we know which direction it ended up being. But at the time when we didn't know any details about the assailant, neither of those would have been surprising to us. And that proves exactly what you just said, that when our enemies are coming from the right and the left, that horseshoe emblem of anti-Semitism makes it almost indistinguishable of those who seek to destroy us.
Yeah. We're running out of time, and I wish you had another 10 minutes to do another segment with us. But one of the things that you deal with in the book, and it's faith under pressure. You wrestle with those enduring theological questions. Where is God in tragedy? How should faith respond to violence? And can suffering coexist with belief in a divine purpose? Talk quickly about that, if you can.
I think about it, Joe, your parents were survivors of the Holocaust, and we saw many after the Holocaust who ran away from God, and we saw many who turned toward it. I think we have seen that in a post-October 7th world. I have a dear friend who lives right on the Gaza border. I said to him, thank God your family is okay. He responded to me, what is this God of which you talk about? And this was about a week after October 7th when I reached out to him. And that's because he spent time on his kibbutz picking up the bodies of his neighbors who were out for a walk that day and lost their life. So I can understand both sides of it. I've seen too many miracles in this process to disconnect from God, but I'm blessed that I haven't seen closely those tragedies that would turn me away from it. And I think that's the real tussle of our theology in moments like this, and the real test of our character.
Rabbi David Seth Kirshner, Reverend A.R. Bernard. I have known David for many years, know him, love him, but I also had the privilege of knowing his parents. And I always say it's so nice when parents are proud of their children, and they were proud of David, but it's nice when children are proud of their parents as well. And David has many, many loving memories and a legacy to preserve, which he does on a daily basis. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Man, my
thank
honor.
you for being on a program.
Thank you. Well, I wish your listeners, Reverend, a happy Easter. Joe, I wish our listeners a happy Passover, and I wish peace in the world for all of us.
Well, so far you've convinced us. Now convince the other side.
Okay, I'm on it.
Great conversation, but we have to take another break. We'll be right back with more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
Thanks for listening to The Rev and the Rabbi. You can hear The Rev and the Rabbi Sunday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
New year, new me? Cute. But how about new year, new money? With Experian, you can actually take control of your finances. Check your FICO score, find ways to save, and get matched with credit card offers, giving you time to power through those New Year's goals you know you're going to crush. Start the year off right. Download the Experian app. based on FICO score 8 model. Offers and approval not guaranteed. Eligibility requirements and terms apply. Subject to credit check, which may impact your credit scores. Offers not available in all states. See Experian.com for details.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.